Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the WealthWise Show, guys. Thank you for joining me. Today is a special episode, and you might be wondering, well, why is it a special episode? Well, mainly because I'm doing it. I'm doing a video, hopefully from now on. I don't know. We'll see. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or anywhere where you are listening to these videos, it makes no difference. There's no difference. Yes, I wear glasses. So if you're watching this, I look like I got some crazy effects going on with the screen light. You know, I'm doing my own production. You know, footing the bill on all this. So bear with me as we continue to try to grow. And I try to make better content for all 12 of my listeners. If you're hearing things in the background, that is because I'm in a public place that has a studio that I was able to, rent out and use it. And so that's what I'm doing. So bear with me, guys. I greatly appreciate you rocking with me for these last 2 years or so. I think I did a video before, but this time I'm going to try to, keep up with it. So all these are pre-recorded. So I just want you to know that. Don't expect, a lot from, current events. I would, like I said before, I would try to do that. But depending on, scheduling and all that stuff, I might not be able to get to it. As you can notice, if you're watching this video, I'm in a spinny chair and I have ADHD. So I am currently stimming because I am nervous because I don't like it being filmed. I actually don't like it being recorded at all. But like I said in whatever episode before, I'm doing this because I'm a good person. I was going to quote something, but I decided not to quote it. After I get done paying on my never mind. Anywho, today's episode, I guess because it's for video, I have editing software. I do. I have all the Adobe stuff, all the good stuff. The only issue is I don't have the time to edit like I would want to. So at least when I was doing the audio, I was able to, use Adobe Auto something Auto, and I would just record straight into the file and then export it into the MP3 and then upload it. So I really didn't have too much editing. Now, since I'm doing video and that other thing, then I might run into an issue of, I got to edit this video. So that being said, it's a long-winded of me just saying I'm going to do the disclaimer as I would have normally just dropped in a voice file into the Adobe program. So I'm going to do it live like almost every video because I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out how to, I might do that. I might make a good 10 second, 30 second video and just pop it in front. But I'm hoping to just upload this straight up to YouTube. Minimal editing. That's the goal. So mistakes are going to be stuck in here. I'm on my camera. I'm on my phone. So my phone, I'm not going to, be doing too much with that. So with that being said, I should have probably wrote down my disclaimer because I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have it. I was not prepared. If I had a producer, they would do that. My apologies. Just this podcast and me, anything I say is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as a form of advice. I do not give financial or investment advice through this medium. This is for educational purposes only. If I have a guest on or if I mention a stock or a ticker or what have you as an example, that does not mean to invest or sell or buy or sell anything. So keep in mind, guys, this podcast, this episode is educational purpose only. My opinions are of my own. They're not of my firm, WealthWise Wealth Management. And so with that being said, let's get started. That was a long-winded 5 minutes. My apologies. I will get better. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that, I'm currently going through. Oh, I shouldn't say I'm currently. I did go through like a couple of years ago. And, well, I shouldn't say, I guess I am currently still doing it. Basically, building wealth when you don't have a 6-figure salary. So how a lot of people, when they think about wealth, they think about, people who are born rich, or people who invented something, or people who developed something that snowballed into this conglomerate, and they're making billions and billions of dollars. And they're like, I work for that guy and he's not paying me that much. I'm probably making $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a year. So if I'm not making that high figure salary, how do you expect me to, 1, build wealth, 2, save for retirement, and 3, pay for my bills, take care of myself and my family? So that's where I'm going to break it down, because, just like everyone else, I started somewhere and I did not have a lot of money. Be honest with you, probably the first 7 years of my marriage, me and my wife, we were getting by. We owned our own carpet cleaning business. I was working for other people in the cleaning industry, pressure washing, carpet cleaning, window cleaning, you name it, pest control. I was heavily in the blue collars service industry, and we did not have a lot of money, but every penny we made work, to the point where, we was able to build something that, provided us a pretty okay lifestyle. And so when it comes down to how much you have or how much you make, it really comes down to what do you do with what you make. Now, some people, they were like, well, I live paycheck to paycheck. And, I have kids. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have the experience of having kids, so I don't know what that's like, because I don't have any kids. Don't plan on having any kids. But that did make things easier for me and my wife. I can admit that. But those who do have children, who do have those responsibilities, I can see where it's like, man, I see all these people telling me I need to do this, I need to do that. But if I were to do those things, I will have to take away from my family. I have to take away from my children, soccer game, or I have to take away from just even feeding my kids. So how do you expect me to, be able to provide for my family and still build wealth? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. It is, I'm not going to complicate it. So everyone's situation is completely different. That's what I want to, throw out first. Don't expect that, your situation is just like my situation, or it's another person's situation. So therefore, we all need to do the same thing. That's not the case. Everyone needs to do their own thing and be able to, make these decisions, especially if you're the head of the house, make these decisions the best for your family. So one of the things that people, talk about, building wealth, if you don't have that, 6-figure salary, is, well, what should I do with a 401k then? My job offers it, but, I don't make enough to put money in there. And so if your job offers a 401k, and if your job offers to match that 401k, then since they automatically take it out of your check, I would just view it as you get a smaller pay cut, maybe, and, just chalk it up to, I'm making it a little bit less, and work with that number. Even if it's $100 a month, $200 a month, $50 a month, if your job is matching, whatever your contribution is, up to a certain percent, then you start there. You're starting small. The thing about wealth is not built overnight. It takes many, many years. And most people who are building wealth, they don't get to really, enjoy it until they're way into close to retirement age. So understand that, starting somewhere is better than not starting at all. And so, if you do have a 401k, remember you do want to contribute to it, especially if you don't have a Roth IRA or IRA or anything like that. You want to start putting something away. That's the idea, to put something away. Now, if you work at a place that don't offer 401ks, then, that will mean, you're going to have to, a lot of the responsibility is going to be on you to put money into a retirement account or an account that can appreciate. And so when you're thinking about, in terms of building wealth, it all goes down to saving, being debt free, and having assets that appreciate. And so I'm holding my fingers for the people who can't see that I'm doing that. I get used to this whole thing because I'm trying to look at the camera, blah, blah, blah. Point is, yes, you want to make sure, the first thing I would do is make sure you are debt free, or at least unnecessarily debt free. And when I say unnecessary debt free, I mean debt that is not necessary. Like if you have a mortgage, I get that. If you have a car payment, to get you back and forth, I understand that. But if you put things on Klarna or Afterpay, or, you took out a loan to do something extracurricular, or even credit cards, if you were to, use the credit cards on things that are not bill related or responsible, then that's what I mean unnecessary debt. Like that's not debt. Is necessity. It's not a necessity essentially. So making sure you are at least have none or low unnecessary debt, and then savings. Savings is going to be important. I know people say, well, you need X amount. You need a year of savings in a bank somewhere. And I know that's not ideal for a lot of people. Probably majority people in the States, probably in the world, that's something that is a tall order. So save something. If you can't do the 12 months, that's ideal. If you can't do 6 months, that's ideal. Put something away in savings. Even if it's, I think I mentioned this before in one of my episodes where me and my wife would save coins and we'll just put them in a baggie. And every time we had, cash, for my job to give us tips, and we were to go get a Polar Pop or something like that, we'll have that change, we'll just put it in a baggie. And then at the end of the year, put it in a Coinstar. I know that's people like, well, you put it in Coinstar, they're taking a huge chunk. You're right. The bank wanted the same thing. So it was a little cheaper, but very similar. Point is, we put money, the coins into a bag, and then eventually put it in the cash, and then use that cash for savings. So the ideal is, you may not be able to save what you might see someone else is saving, but you're in the game, you're saving, you're doing something. And that's the goal of building wealth, is you're actively trying to build it, because building is an action word. So you want to make sure that you start somewhere. So if you don't have a 401k, or you don't have, or you do have a 401k, you want to start saving, making sure you're started on that unnecessary debt. And that next would be starting to purchase things with that appreciates, stocks, bonds, all sorts of things. And that's how you slowly but surely start building wealth, even if you don't have that, 6-figure salary. Ideally, of course, the more money you make, the easier it will be for you to build that wealth. But that doesn't mean you cannot build the wealth. So keep that in mind. Understand that if your current job does not pay enough, you might have to, second job or second side hustle or something else that can produce income, because the income part is crucial to appreciation, or wealth building. Without income, There's nothing, you have no building blocks essentially. And so, even if it's car washing, even if it's, doing something on the side, either a small business or, something additional, Ubering, things like that can help you generate more income. Me and my wife Ubered before. That's something that we did early on. And, it was a necessity. It wasn't something that, we knew that we're going to do this forever. We're like, hey, we knew that we're not going to keep doing this, but the extra cash is what we needed. How are we going to get extra cash? People look at their phone, they look at, all sorts of different avenues like, man, how can we get extra cash? And they look for fast ways to do it. And honestly, one of the best things you can do is freelance work. If you are good at something, if you're good at art, or if you're good at, digital media, or you're good at, even recording, producing, something that could be a hobby that can be turned into income revenue, or income source, is something that I would highly, think about when you're thinking about building wealth. Even if it's something that's not gonna be permanent, like, hey, I took this summer job, I'm a substitute teacher, for this, end of the year or whatever. It's just something that will help you produce some more income. And then once you produce that income, you don't want to spend it unnecessarily. You don't want to, use it for things that you did not plan for, like vacationing or purchasing things that, you worked hard for, that you might want to, take a staycation or something like that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Because the money is for you to build wealth. So use that money to put it into the markets or do something else with it that's going to appreciate. And so there's all sorts of things. Another freelancer, I shouldn't say freelancer. Another thing that that you can potentially look into is, different courses that you can take to learn skills to help give you additional income. And who knows, those skills may actually turn into your primary source of income versus your 9 to 5. So those are things to think about. So yes, wealth is something that many people want to achieve, but understand why you want to have that, achievement. Is it because you want better for your family? Is it because, you want to show off? What is the reason what is your why, essentially, for thinking about building, the wealth that you're thinking about? Now, the wealth I'm thinking about and the wealth you're thinking about are two different things. To me, I'm already wealthy and I don't have a mansion. I don't have, gajillions of dollars or anything like that. I'm able to pick and choose the things I want to do with my time. And to me, that's wealthy. To you, it might be having a Lambo in one garage and, living coast to coast, having 2 different properties or whatever. What is the reason behind that? Because when people are thinking about building wealth, well, wealth looks differently for everybody. So what are you building? What is it going to look like to you? And once you answer that, it will become easier to start seeing how to put the layers in so you can see your vision. So understanding that, yes, you want to achieve wealth. And yes, you may want, or you may not have the means of a 6-figure salary to, expedite that, but you still have options. It doesn't mean that, just roll over and be like, what, give up. If your family is stuck in a 1-bedroom apartment and it's just not it, well, you're going to do things to, make sure you provide for your family. And that may mean additional income. Or your family is pretty much well taken care of, but you and your wife are, or is getting older and you want to, think about leaving something for your kids as, they get older. You might want to help them with finishing school. You might want to help them with getting their own car when they get of age, things like that. Being able to do those things I would say you're pretty wealthy. And if you can't do those things, doesn't mean you can't build up to be able to do those things. So that was a great episode, guys. I think I don't need to do any editing, which is good. I'm not used to being recorded. As you can tell, I'm very uncomfortable. But hopefully you guys learned something. If not, my apologies. I appreciate you guys listening to me. You're gonna see me in this garb if you're watching. For like the next couple of weeks, because like I said, I'm pre-recording, and since I rented this thing out, I'm gonna bust out as many episodes as I can, and that way I can just schedule them and not have to worry about it. See, I'm transparent. I'm trying to be, at least. With that being said, guys, thank you for joining me on another episode of the WealthWise Show. I'm your host, Derrick Johnson, and until next time, stay WealthWise.